Good Saturday morning, fellow investors. Today I'm going to be just doing a brief follow-up on Medical Properties Trust, ticker MPW. As some of you might know, I did a video about this not too long ago, and long story short, this past week it has taken an additional beating past how far it was beaten down when I first covered this stock. So before I get too much into it, I want you to remember to choke slam that like button and give me a comment below, and be sure to subscribe if you want to help me reach my goals. So a quick reminder on what the basic idea for value is on this stock from my last video. There was the low multiple to FFO, but there's also the disconnect between the market cap and the net assets on the books. We have almost $8.6 billion as of March 1st in equity in the assets on the balance sheet. Market cap was just over $6 billion, I believe, last video. Now we're at $5.26 billion. Stock is down almost 20% in the last few days. Ladies and gentlemen, the fundamentals of this business have not gotten 17.5% worse over the last 5 days. This is what you call irrationality in the market, okay? The Fed chair said some things, and Silicon Valley Bank, which had some issues with some mismanagement and had a bit of a run on it, has been kind of taken over by the regulators, and it's the biggest bank failure since 2008. Okay, but that doesn't really justify this movement in price, right? A lot of stocks fell in general, and some that were already maybe a little people were uneasy about just got sold off harder, right? Especially, banks got hit especially hard, but MPW was not immune and took a really, really severe beating on the share price. So with that in mind, since it's now cheaper and the fundamentals have not really shifted in any drastic way, I am now even more interested in selling additional puts at lower prices and accruing more and more shares at lower and lower prices. That is the correct response when the share price falls like a rock on something, but the actual fundamental value has remained the same, right? If you had, let's just say, for example, a portfolio of rental properties that you were buying in a specific neighborhood, and you were getting them for $200,000 each, over the last couple years, and the rent levels have stayed, the same, or gone up, with inflation or whatever, and then suddenly, there's a correction in the real estate market, and you can get properties in that same neighborhood for $150,000, but the rents haven't gone down at all. Would you sell the properties you already bought at a loss, or would you want to maybe consider buying more if you have the capital to do so? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that in that case, you would want that 25% discount. Now, people have a really hard time thinking of stocks the same way, because every day you pull open your account and you see these negative numbers in red, and it hurts you psychologically and emotionally. It's one of those things that if you're going to be an investor and analyze and look at individual companies, you have to be able to have the emotional fortitude to get past your own emotional response to these price movements. Now, one thing somebody brought up in the comments of my last video was that there were apparently some kind of investigation or lawsuit on MPW. I wasn't really sure what they meant. However, I recently stumbled on this video by Joseph Hogue, where he actually did a really good job of discussing that particular issue. So I'm not going to get too much into that. I'll link his video below, and I'd recommend that you watch it if that's a concern for you, because I think he addressed it very well. But basically, anytime a stock takes a big dump, like a Undertaker throwing Mankind off the Hell in a Cell into the announcer's table kind of dump, you end up having, a lot of people get salty about it, and law firms that know that there will be some shareholders who are salty about it, and they may try to get them into a big lawsuit. Now, the merit of that, you can decide for yourself, but I think this is interesting, right? We've got this Globe Newswire, Business Wire, whatever headlines here for MPW. Here's another stock that's down pretty substantially in the recent past. Oh, look, class action alert, class action alert. And then you search some of these law firms, and look at this. All of these Globe Newswire headlines, Business Wire headlines, Globe Newswire headlines with those same law firms. So it's interesting. It's almost like maybe they're just trying to put together a quick little cash grab on companies that have had recent struggles with share price. That could be. I think it's a possibility that maybe you should consider. So, all in all, I'm not actually that worried about the so-called investigation or lawsuit or whatever. I'm still really just interested in looking at the fundamentals of the company, and I see a disconnect between price and value. It's that simple. And as the share price declines, if it's declining more than any change in the fundamentals of the business, that's irrational. And if you can be rational when others are being irrational, that's how you become, Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, right? So that's all I'm saying. I still think that this is a compelling value. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. If I'm a jabroni, let me know. Okay? Peace.